No one expected chaos on Loose Women that morning. The studio lights were warm, the audience cheerful, and the panel relaxed. Denise Welch sat confidently at the center, laughing with the other hosts as they introduced the day's special guest. "Please welcome," the announcer said brightly, "award-winning comedian, actor, and writer, Ricky Gervais." The audience erupted into applause. Ricky walked out with his trademark half-smile, waving casually, already scanning the room like a man preparing for battle or comedy. He took his seat, adjusted his jacket, and leaned back comfortably. "Morning," he said dryly. "I feel like I've wandered into a hen party." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Denise smiled politely. She had dealt with comedians before. But something about Ricky's tone made her tighten her jaw just slightly. The first few minutes were harmless. They discussed Ricky's latest stand-up tour, his views on cancel culture, and the state of comedy in modern Britain. Ricky was sharp, witty, and unapologetic, exactly what viewers expected. Then Denise leaned forward. "So, Ricky," she said, smiling but firm, "you're known for saying things that upset people. Do you ever stop and think about who you might be hurting?" Ricky raised an eyebrow. "Honestly," he replied, "no. Because jokes aren't knives. If words can destroy you, the problem isn't the words." A murmur passed through the audience. Denise's smile faded. "Well, that's easy to say when you're not the target," she shot back. "Some people don't have your platform or privilege." Ricky chuckled softly. "Privilege," he repeated. "I was raised working class. I wasn't handed comedy, I earned it by being honest." The temperature in the studio shifted. One of the co-hosts tried to lighten the mood. "Let's keep it friendly." But Denise interrupted. "Honest or offensive?" she asked sharply. "Because many feel your jokes punch down." Ricky leaned forward now, eyes locked on Denise. "That phrase," he said calmly, "is usually used by people who want comedians to be preachers." The audience gasped. Denise crossed her arms. "So you're saying people who criticize you just don't understand comedy?" "I'm saying," Ricky replied slowly, "that comedy isn't supposed to be safe. If it's safe, it's propaganda." The clapping was mixed, some enthusiastic, some hesitant. Denise shook her head. "That's incredibly dismissive," she said. "We're talking about real people, real pain." Ricky paused. Then he said something that changed everything. "Pain doesn't come from jokes," he said. "It comes from life. Comedy just points at it." Silence. Even the audience stopped breathing. Denise leaned forward, her voice rising. "That's such a privileged thing to say. People struggle with mental health, with abuse, with discrimination. And jokes didn't cause any of that," Ricky interrupted, his voice still calm. "Bad people did." The producer in the control room whispered urgently into headsets. "This is getting out of hand." Denise's face flushed. "So you take zero responsibility?" Ricky shrugged. "I take responsibility for telling the truth. Not for people choosing to be offended." A sharp intake of breath echoed through the studio. One of the hosts tried again. "Maybe we should move on." "No," Denise said firmly. "This matters." She turned fully toward Ricky. "Your comedy encourages cruelty." Ricky stared at her for a long second. Then he smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Cruelty," he said quietly, "is pretending adults are so fragile they can't hear a joke." The audience reacted loudly now, some cheering, others booing. Denise stood up. "I will not sit here and let you belittle real issues," she said, voice shaking. Ricky stood too. "And I won't apologize for free speech," he replied. The studio erupted. Producers rushed toward the stage. A voice crackled over the speakers. "We're going to a break. Now." Cameras cut abruptly. But the damage was done. Backstage, Denise stormed off, tears of anger in her eyes. Crew members whispered nervously. Ricky stood alone, arms crossed, expression unreadable. A producer approached him, face pale. "Ricky," she said quietly, "we're ending the segment." He nodded. "I figured. Security will escort you out." Ricky smirked. First time for everything. As he walked down the hallway, microphones still hot, one final line slipped out, caught by a nearby camera. "Funny thing," he muttered, "they invite comedians, then punish them for comedy." The clip would go viral within hours. And the storm had only just begun. By the time Ricky Gervais reached his car, his phone was already vibrating nonstop. Messages, missed calls, notifications exploding like fireworks. Inside the Loose Women studio, the atmosphere had turned toxic. Producers argued in hushed but furious voices. Camera operators stood frozen, unsure whether they had just witnessed television history or career suicide. Denise Welch sat in her dressing room, hands shaking. A makeup artist tried to dab away tears from her cheeks. "I'm fine," Denise snapped. "I'm just angry." But anger wasn't the whole truth. She felt exposed, challenged, publicly contradicted in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Meanwhile, the network executives were already watching the raw footage. And they were terrified. The clip goes viral. Less than 30 minutes later, a leaked audience recording hit social media. The argument, the standing confrontation, the boos and cheers, Ricky's final muttered line. Within an hour, #Ricky on Loose Women was trending worldwide. Some posts read, "He said what everyone's thinking." Finally, someone stood up to cancel culture. Others were just as furious. "This is why words matter. Loose Women should never have booked him." News outlets jumped in immediately. Ricky Gervais removed from Loose Women after on-air clash. Denise Welch storms off set. Free speech or disrespect. The debate split the country. Denise returns to air. The following day, Denise Welch returned to Loose Women. This time, there was no laughter. No casual banter. She sat upright, eyes focused, jaw set. "I want to address what happened yesterday," she said calmly. The audience was silent. "I invited Ricky Gervais onto this show in good faith," she continued. "But what we experienced was not comedy. It was dismissal. It was a refusal to acknowledge responsibility." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "We talk here about mental health, about vulnerability, about compassion. And I will always defend those values." Applause filled the studio. Denise took a breath. No guest, no matter how famous, gets to undermine that. Behind the scenes, producers nodded with relief. This was the narrative they needed. Ricky breaks his silence. Ricky Gervais didn't post immediately. He waited. Then, late that evening, he appeared unexpectedly on a live-streamed interview with an independent journalist. No studio. No audience. Just Ricky, seated casually, beer in hand. "I wasn't kicked off for being rude," he said calmly. "I was kicked off for refusing to lie." The clip spread instantly. "Comedy," he continued, "isn't about comfort. It's about honesty. If honesty scares you, maybe the problem isn't the comedian." The interviewer asked, "Do you regret anything you said to Denise Welch?" Ricky paused. "I regret that she felt attacked," he said. "But I don't regret the truth." Comments flooded in faster than the moderators could delete them. Supporters praised his composure. Critics called him arrogant. Ricky smiled slightly. "People keep saying words cause harm," he added. "But silencing people causes far more." The network panics. ITV executives convened an emergency meeting. Sponsors were nervous. Advertisers demanded reassurance. Emails poured in from both sides of the debate. One executive slammed his hand on the table. "We look weak," he said. "Either we defend the hosts or we look like we invited chaos." Another replied quietly, "We invited him for chaos." The truth hung heavy in the room. They had wanted controversy. They just hadn't expected it to explode. A decision had to be made. The official statement. That evening, ITV released a statement. "Loose Women is a platform for respectful discussion. While we value free expression, we also prioritize empathy and responsibility." The events involving Ricky Gervais did not align with the show's values. Ricky read it on his phone. He laughed. "Funny," he tweeted moments later. Inviting a comedian whose entire career is about saying uncomfortable truths, then acting shocked. The tweet hit 1 million likes in under an hour. Denise and Ricky, one last moment. Days later, a private message appeared in Denise Welch's inbox. From Ricky. It read, "We disagree. That's fine. But I never meant to hurt you personally. I meant to challenge ideas, not people." Denise stared at the screen for a long time. Then she typed back, "Words land differently on different people. I hope you understand that someday." Ricky replied with one final message. "I do. I just refuse to stop talking because of it." They never spoke publicly again. The aftermath. The ratings for Loose Women soared. So did Ricky's ticket sales. Denise became a symbol of accountability. Ricky became a symbol of defiance. Both claimed victory. But behind the headlines, one truth remained undeniable. That argument wasn't about comedy. It wasn't about offense. It was about who gets to control the conversation. And once the words were spoken, there was no taking them back.